Is it possible that the decisions shaping your daily life are being made in rooms you will never enter, by people whose names you will never know? Greetings. Today we begin an investigative journey into the silent forces of our world. We are looking beneath the surface of global politics. To understand the present, we must look at the architectural blueprint of power that has been centuries in the making. This is a deep academic dive. We will explore global control through precise data and historical evidence. Our objective is to uncover the truth behind the global machinery. We will analyze the historical context, the economic data, and the spiritual foundations that underpin this structure. Join me now as we dive in. We must examine every pillar of this system to understand our reality. Knowledge is the first step toward agency in an increasingly complex world. Our journey starts here, in the ancient cradle of civilization, a region where the first concepts of centralized authority took root in Mesopotamia. Ancient Mesopotamia established the precedent for organized governance and resource management that dictates the structures of the modern world. The historical context reveals a social condition where resource management became the primary tool of control, establishing hierarchies. These hierarchical power structures evolved over millennia, but the core principle of centralized credit and logistics management remains identical. The social conditions were ripe for the emergence of an elite class, those who could interpret the cycles of nature and manage complex logistics. This early agrarian empire required a highly organized administrative layer, laying the foundation for the technocratic elite we see today. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. We contend against spiritual wickedness in high places. This biblical perspective provides the spiritual foundation for our modern investigation. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth. The truth is the primary weapon against the hidden networks that govern our reality. And having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, above all taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. This stance of spiritual readiness is essential for our deep dive. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication. In the Spirit we find the clarity to perceive the hidden architecture. This concludes our sacred scripture reading for today. To understand modern control, we must analyze the findings of researchers at ETH Zurich, who mapped the global corporate network meticulously. Their analysis of 37 million companies revealed a super entity, a group of just 147 corporations in control. These entities control 40% of the total global economic value, operating as a single, coordinated economic organism across borders. This core is dominated by financial institutions. Through interlocking shareholdings, they manage the very flow of capital dictating operations. Entities like JP Morgan and Vanguard do not just own assets, they dictate the global industrial and technological development pathways. By 2025, this concentration has created a systemic vulnerability. The hyper-connected nature of the core makes it a source of fragility. If one member of this core fails, the entire network is threatened with a cascading global financial collapse, as we saw in 2008. Case Study 1. The Central Banking System. By 1913, the foundation was laid for a system overseeing 95% of currency flows. This system succeeded by creating an interdependency between nations and private creditors, ensuring technocratic financial elite control. Case Study 2. The fragmentation of localized trade unions. During the late 20th century, they failed to unify their data systems. Without a centralized digital strategy, their influence plummeted by 60%, unable to withstand the pressure of globalized markets. A new sector is disrupting the model. The Silicon Valley MIC, AI-driven warfare, and autonomous drones are now central security objectives. Anduril and SpaceX are redefining defense, prioritizing just-in-case stockpiling and algorithmic precision over traditional procurement. The military-industrial complex is currently experiencing a historic upcycle. Global expenditure in 2024 has hit $2.7 trillion. This represents the steepest rise since 1988, driven by high-intensity conflict and great power competition across the global landscape. The petrodollar, the bedrock of the 20th century financial order, is shifting. The 50-year agreement reached a critical turning point. On June 9, 2024, the Security for Oil understanding between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia reached its effective end without a formal renewal. Saudi Arabia's move toward a multi-currency stance and China's yuan-based oil trade signal a transition to a new multipolar reality. 30% of China's cross-border trade is now yuan-based, utilizing its CIPS system to bypass Western-dominated financial networks. Project M-Bridge is the infrastructure for this change. It allows for the direct settlement of oil sales in digital currencies entirely. By bypassing SWIFT, nations gain regional autonomy and financial sovereignty, fragmenting the unipolar hegemony of the previous era. At the very top are the big three investment firms, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, holding stakes in almost every major company. Their combined influence over shareholder resolutions allows them to steer the policy of the world's largest transnational corporations. These three entities manage assets totaling over $30 trillion, significantly larger than the annual GDP of the United States. This concentration of capital represents the ultimate lever of global control, dictate the availability of credit across entire sectors. This is the super entity core. It is a mathematical reality of concentrated ownership where 147 members are all interconnected. The interlocking shareholdings create a unified block of economic influence that transcends the regulatory capabilities of individual nations. The reach of this core is truly global. Pulsing nodes of financial power dictate development from North America to East Asia. This distribution ensures that the core entity's interests are integrated into every significant industrial and technical infrastructure worldwide. Global military expenditure reached $2.7 trillion in 2024. This chart shows the steep 9.4% year-on-year increase. The defense sector has entered a supercycle, with 5 major corporations claiming 1/6 of the total U.S. Pentagon budget. This concentration is not accidental. It is the result of a deliberate, long-term strategy by a core group of individuals in finance. Operating within the highest levels of global governance, these actors ensure the levers of influence remain within the super entity core. The physical foundation of this digital structure is the advanced microchip. Control over production is the ultimate strategic leverage. As the world's most critical industrial component, the microchip supply chain is now a primary battlefield of the new fragmented hegemony. This leverage extends into orbit. High-tech satellites provide the sensory data for global financial and military networks in real time. Satellites are the eyes of the hidden power structure, allowing for absolute precision in monitoring geopolitical and economic shifts globally. As old geopolitical maps lose their relevance, a new strategic direction is emerging, one defined by data sovereignty and control. The pathways of information are the new territory. Control over these pathways is the primary metric of power in the 21st century. The data centers of big tech firms have become the new vaults of the elite, housing behavioral data of billions across the planet. This data allows for a level of predictive modeling that ensures the stability of the global network by managing human behavior preemptively. The labor landscape of 2026 to 2035 is defined by radical automation. Traditional labor unions are struggling to adapt to algorithmic management. 80% of routine tasks are being integrated into the digital structure, removing the human element from the core economic logistics. Data indicates a transition toward a gig economy model on a global scale, where labor is treated as a just-in-time resource managed centrally. The integration of worker identification with financial protocols allows for the seamless management of a global, decentralized labor force. Artificial intelligence is the ultimate multiplier. Predictive AI models manage social stability by identifying potential disruptions in real time. This digital twin of our world allows the power core to adjust economic levers preemptively, ensuring the maintenance of the hidden architecture. The Pareto principle is a fundamental law of wealth concentration. 80% of global assets are controlled by less than 20%. In the context of the 147 core corporations, this principle is even more pronounced, with a tiny fraction of entities exercising absolute control. The law of compound interest is the engine of this concentration. Over decades, assets held by core entities grow exponentially, far outpacing. This mathematical engine creates a barrier to entry that is insurmountable for new actors, locking the levers of power into the elite core. We now embark on the central narrative expansion. We will examine the specific algorithms of the 147 corporations and the $2.7 trillion MIC. This data-intensive analysis reveals a fragmented hegemony where centralized corporate power meets a multipolar geopolitical reality in 2025. We will analyze the 2026 to 2035 labor trends and the implementation of Project M-Bridge for digital oil settlements across the global network. Every number and evidence-based conclusion serves to map the hidden architecture of control that governs our modern world with absolute precision. To understand the origin of the modern order, we must return to 1944. The Bretton Woods Agreement established the framework for global trade. The Bretton Woods system anchored the world's currencies to the US dollar, providing a stable foundation for 30 years of expansion. This was a masterpiece of institutional design. It created the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank to manage global capital. These entities ensured that 90% of global liquidity would remain under the oversight of the newly established central financial hub. The success of this system rested on the dollar's convertibility to gold, which anchored the global system in a tangible physical asset base. This anchored the world for 3 decades, but the subsequent decoupling in 1971 led to the birth of the modern fiat-based power structure. Case Study 3. The 2008 financial crisis. The hyper-interconnection of the power core became a catastrophic liability for the global order. The failure of a single member of the super entity triggered a domino effect. Trillions of dollars in value evaporated in a matter of weeks. The subsequent bailouts further consolidated power. Core corporations were deemed too big to fail, merging private capital with fiscal state power. This merger ensured that the super entity core would remain intact, regardless of the level of systemic fragility or public economic distress. Power is also projected through biological control. Just 4 corporations control 70% of the global grain trade with absolute dominance. This concentration dictates world food prices, allowing the power core to use agricultural availability as a strategic lever against sovereign nations. The patenting of genetic information allows for the weaponization of the food supply chain. Seed sovereignty is being replaced by corporate ownership. Nations that do not conform can find their food sovereignty eroded, forcing them into the global economic consensus defined by the core entities. The control of information is the final pillar. 6 massive media conglomerates control 90% of the news consumed by the global population. This allowed for the management of the global narrative, shaping consensus through the careful curation of what is seen and interpreted by the public. The power core maintains social stability through the manufacturing of consensus, utilizing its control over information pathways to dictate social norms. This global web ensures that any deviation from the established strategy is managed and redirected before it can impact the stability of the structure. The hidden structure is supported by shadow banking. Over $20 trillion is held in offshore tax havens beyond national regulatory reach. This dark capital provides the liquidity for global operations, allowing for rapid repositioning of influence without public oversight or accountability. By utilizing decentralized financial protocols within their own networks, the core entities can settle transactions in real time across national borders. This ensures their capital remains highly mobile, effectively immune to the fiscal restrictions that national governments apply to the broader population. As we look toward 2035, tech sovereignty will define the future. Quantum computing is the new frontier of the structure's evolution. The ability to process hidden data at quantum speeds will provide the core entities with absolute predictive modeling capability on a global scale. The integration of data management with biological systems allows for a level of social modeling once thought impossible in theory. This ultimate architecture of control extends into the genetic information of the population, ensuring long-term stability through biological management. The transition to a digital economy requires massive amounts of rare earth minerals. Control over physical resources is now critical leverage. The corporate core is currently repositioning its assets to dominate the new supply chains, ensuring fragmented hegemony remains centered on their tech. By controlling the foundational elements of the digital era, the super entity ensures its continued relevance in a multipolar geopolitical environment. This resource hegemony dictates the pace of the global energy transition, ensuring the core entities maintain their strategic positioning throughout the shift. Algorithmic social credit systems are the final implementation. They allow for automated management of individual agency based on real-time data. Every behavioral data point is recorded and analyzed, ensuring that each individual remains integrated within the stability protocols of the global network. This is not just surveillance, it is a system of incentives designed to maintain equilibrium by preemptively managing social behavior at scale. By dictating the terms of individual agency through digital management, the power structure ensures that any social disruption is neutralized in real time. The hidden structure operates through manufacturing consensus. Decisions made at the highest levels are cascaded down through international organizations. These organizations ensure that national legislatures conform to the long-term strategy, effectively bypassing the democratic process for the sake of stability. By the time a policy reaches the public sphere, parameters have already been established, ensuring the outcome serves the stability of the structure. This ensures that the levers of global governance remain in the hands of the technocratic elite, regardless of the shifting political landscape. The future architecture of our world is an integrated system of finance, technology, and belief. It is a silent system responding to every fluctuation. This algorithmic precision ensures the maintenance of global equilibrium through the automated management of information pathways and capital flows. In this investigative journey, we have mapped the mechanisms of control. Knowledge is the first step toward genuine agency in our reality. We must understand the hidden architecture to navigate the future and reclaim our sovereignty in an increasingly complex and centralized world. Benchmarking strategy is the tool for industrial dominance. By analyzing innovation cycles, core entities can dictate the pace of global advancement. Industrial leaders like Samsung are integrated into this strategy, ensuring that the super entity remains at the center of technological breakthroughs. Disruptors like Anduril and SpaceX are redefining the military-industrial complex. Their AI-driven systems provide absolute sensory data control globally. This ensures the structure's orbital leverage, allowing the core corporations to maintain their military dominance in a multipolar geopolitical era. The technical protocols of CIPS and Project M-Bridge are the new financial bedrock. They allow for the settlement of trade in a decentralized landscape. By utilizing these protocols, the core entities gain the ability to operate outside the traditional unipolar restrictions of the previous financial order. The structure manages large-scale organizations through psychological archetypes. Each role is calculated to maintain the stability of the whole system. This automated organizational management ensures that the super entity strategy is implemented at every level with calculated, predictable results. The law of compound interest ensures that assets grow exponentially. This mathematical engine effectively locks the levers of power into elite hands. Mathematically, the concentration of capital becomes an insurmountable barrier, guaranteeing the long-term dominance of the hidden power structure. Supply chain resilience is now a primary national security objective. The shift away from efficiency creates a just-in-case stockpiling model. This weaponization of logistics ensures that the core entities can dictate the industrial pace of entire regions through their control of supply paths. U.S. arms exports grew to 43%. Foreign military sales reached $117.9 billion in 2024 alone. This historic conflict upcycle ensures the continued military relevance and economic dominance of the five massive defense corporations in the core. The Silicon Valley MIC is redefining modern warfare. Disruptors are now ranked among the top defense contractors, integrating AI at every level. This disruption ensures that the technocratic elite remains at the cutting edge of surveillance and tactical management in a multipolar reality. SpaceX provides the critical satellite constellations, powering autonomous fleets and ensuring high-speed military communication across the planet. This orbital net is the sensory foundation for global power, monitoring shifts with real-time precision from the safety of the dark vacuum of space. AI-driven warfare allows for precision previously impossible. Tactical decisions are made by algorithms processing hidden data in real time. This algorithmic tactical superiority ensures that the hidden structure's interests are protected with calculated, rapid responses to any disruption. Data has been weaponized. Control of behavioral information allows for social management through predictive models, neutralizing disruption at scale. The flow of data is the primary metric of power. It allows the core to manage global equilibrium through calculated micro-adjustments to the network. Expanding from the core, a group of 737 companies control 80% of the global economy's value. This is the inner circle of control. This network of influence provides the layers of insulation and reach necessary for the super-entity core to manage global systems effectively. Systemic vulnerability is the price of concentration. A failure in one member triggers a ripple across the entire global map in real time. This fragile interconnection means that the global order must be managed with absolute precision to avoid a total, cascading economic breakdown. U.S. shale production of 13 million barrels per day has shifted the nature of hegemony to energy sovereignty based on domestic production. While Middle Eastern oil remains important, the source of energy hegemony is adapting to the new production realities of the 21st century. Central banks added over 1,000 metric tons of gold in 2024. This marks the third year of record accumulation by the financial elite. This strategic hedge represents a plan B for the core entities, preparing for a potential decline in dollar power and a commodity shift. The massive accumulation of gold provides the necessary liquidity and stability for the transition to a fragmented, multipolar economic order. This preparation ensures that the levers of influence remain centered in the super-entity core, regardless of the medium of global currency. As we have seen, the structures that control our world are both visible and invisible, operating through finance, technology, and belief. The power to shape the future lies in collective understanding. It is my hope this framework has provided clarity and genuine insight into reality. Stay curious, stay informed. Remember that knowledge is the first step. Please subscribe and like. Thank you.